Hey there, welcome back to Mindful May. Today I'm going to be scrap busting. If you're not familiar with this term, I'm basically busting through my scrap collection. I've been sewing since 2021, so I have collected a lot of fabric over the years and a lot of scraps. I felt after a long time of collecting, it was time to declutter and go through my collection, so I did end up donating a lot of scraps to my local thrift store. And then with the ones that I kept, I made some plans for. So I've got a couple of ideas today, not sure how many I can get through, but I would like to make a makeup bag, some pants for my nephew out of scraps from a pair of pants that I made so we can have a matching pair, a patchwork romper for my niece. I think a tote bag would be super fun, and maybe some pillows for my porch patio chairs. So today I'm gonna start with a makeup bag. My makeup bag is too small now, so I'd love to make a new one. I'm going to be using a tutorial by Sew Bake Make, and I'm making her larger size bag. So I'm going to cut out those pieces. I am going to interface the pieces. That's something she recommended if you want a sturdier bag. The pieces that I'm using are all secondhand, which is fun. I believe the zipper is from my mother-in-law's sister, who's a crafty lady. I got all of these just collected over the years. I don't think that these are natural fibers, so I wouldn't want to make clothing out of them, but I don't mind a makeup bag being made out of them. I'm not sure exactly which lining I'm gonna go with. I think these all look pretty cute together though. And then the batting itself is also thrifted. Love when we can find things secondhand and now put them to use. All right, here's my first little quilted piece. I need to cut it down to size, but I put a few together. Still can't decide if I want this to be the inside or the outside, but it's looking pretty cute. Switching out for my zipper foot. And then I'm going to sew this little sandwich piece together, my mane, which I just quilted, and my lining. All right, now we're top stitching. All right, I've gotten a good chunk done on the bag. Whoa, pins everywhere. I've boxed out the corners, and now we're adding a little tab, which I really like that on a makeup bag. I just reached in for my scraps. I took two of the corners of my lining and sewed them on the long sides together. So I think this should work. I'm gonna turn it inside out, and this will be my little like tab. And I'll just follow the instructions. She has you sew this to the inside of the bag. Alrighty guys, here's the outcome of my scrappy makeup bag. I finished it last night and I think it's pretty cute. It's honestly much bigger than I thought it would be. And I did make a couple mistakes as it was my first time making one. I somehow ended up with the tab on the inside, which is lame, but next time I make it, I'll know to not do that. It's super cute. I love the gingham lining. I mean, I wish it was like a reversible zipper so I could flip it inside or out. Ideally, it would look like this with the tab on the outside, but that was an oversight by me. I would definitely make it again. I think it turned out really cute. It was fairly simple. I struggled a little bit with boxing out the edges and the corners, but I did figure it out. All in all, it turned out pretty well. And I thought it was a really cute way to use up some of my scraps, and that these two fabrics in particular look really cute together. So I'm going to be moving on today to my next project, which is a little romper for my niece. I bought a pattern off of Etsy. I'll link that below. I printed it out last night. It looks like this. And then I went over and took her measurements. You just base it off of the baby's chest measurement. It was just a couple bucks off of Etsy. I think the instructions are not that great, just glancing at them last night, but hopefully I'll figure it out. I also grabbed one of her onesies just to base it off of if I run into any trouble. So we're gonna start patchworking that. These are the fabrics that I'm working with. If they look familiar to you, they're from my patchwork dress, which is a really popular video on my channel. So these are the leftover scraps from that. And then I'll either do this fabric in the lining or this, depending on how much I have. So I need to get this started. I also have these snaps for the pattern that I thrifted a long time ago. All right, so far my method has been to sew these squares in strips across until they cover up the part of the romper. So I cut the lining out and put the piece down and then sewed these right sides together in long strips. And then I'm going to sew the rows together, right sides together and then right sides together. And then hopefully it'll cover the whole piece. And then I'll do it again for the back side. All right, I'm working on the back side of the patchwork. For the first half, I needed 16 squares, so now I know I need 16 squares for the back. So thought I would just chat with you while I'm working on it. I have been recently looking into and rediscovering hobbies that don't require a screen. And one of those hobbies has been growing wildflowers. And it's been so fun to watch them germinate and bloom. My husband and I threw a couple seeds in the backyard and they're finally growing, and it's so satisfying to watch them and go out each morning and water them, and it's very peaceful to like be in the earth and to grow something. It's very exciting. And with that, I also started doing watercolors again. I was inspired by the wildflowers. I wanted to get out there and watercolor them because they're such beautiful colors. So I started this 15-day watercolor challenge on Skillshare with Petals by Priya, who is a watercolor instructor. I've always loved watercoloring, but I got out of the habit for a while, so getting back into it, refreshing my skills, and learning to watercolor florals in particular has been so fun. It's been very relaxing. Once I build my skills and finish the challenge, I could go outside and paint my wildflowers. So if you love getting creative or need a new relaxing hobby but don't know where to begin, Skillshare has tons of classes by amazing creatives. There's everything from sewing to painting to photography, and they have a deal that I get to share with you. The first 500 people to join through my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So if you want to pick up a new hobby or refresh skills from a hobby that you want to pick up again, check out my link below and join Skillshare today. Okay, here's the first one cut out and it looks so stinking cute. So far, the pattern is fine. I'm not loving how it's put together. I think it's gonna be really cute, but most of the way that you're finishing things is by like tucking raw ends under and then sewing them together, which is just really tricky with such a small garment. So I've done one armhole and now I've got this one pinned. And then I think we're just up to the pins at the bottom, like the snaps and then a button, and it's almost done. Okay, little baby onesie is done, and I think it turned out really cute. I'm excited to try it on my niece. I'm not sure I can say I recommend this pattern because it was so tricky and the instructions weren't great. I think with the experience I have sewing, I could like figure it out, but probably not a beginner pattern. All right, next up, I'm moving on to a pair of pants from these scraps that I have from a pair of pants that I made for Spain earlier this year. So I've got several scraps left, and I thought it'd be really fun to make pants for my 3-year-old nephew based on a pair of pants that he has and loves, so we can match. So I'm just gonna trace the leg pieces from these pants and hope that I can just kind of self-draft it, so wish me luck. All right, I laid out the shorts, the fronts and the backs, and traced with some seam allowance around them. And I did have to quilt together some of the pieces. That's 2 pieces sewn together. And then I'm gonna be following the instructions from the Madeline pants just to help me assemble them. Okie dokie, the little toddler pants are done and they're so cute. I'm nervous that they won't fit just because it's hard to imagine them fitting my little nephew. I didn't have as much fabric as I thought I would, so I had to cut a little bit smaller. So if they don't fit him, they can fit the next baby. These are very much unisex pants, which is great. I like that they are kind of like patchworked together. So I'm happy with how they came out. They were really easy to put together. I think next time if I had more fabric, it'd be fun to put little pockets in because kids just love to collect stuff, as you know. I think this is my final scrap busting project for the day. I am tired of sewing little pieces of fabric together. So thank you for joining me for this patchwork busting video. I will see you next time. Cheers. Perfect.
Oh,
What's it measure?
right on her head.
Oh, measure her head. It's great.
For there.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Can you stand by me and hold my hand? And we can show that we're matching to Uncle Miles? Pretty cool. Pretty awesome. High five.